Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Podcast for Profits, the show where we stop trading time for likes and start turning that conversation that you're having into currency. Now, if you don't know who I am by now, or you're new to the show, let me explain to you. I am Mr. Tony Porter. I am your podcast monetization strategist and also your business coach. So today, we're diving into how to keep your listeners hooked in the first 5 minutes. Now, I say that and I say that wholeheartedly because you got to have something that makes the people feel like they belong. And feeling like they belong means a lot. So if you are a coach, a service provider, a podcaster, content creator, this is for you. If you're tired of podcasting into the void and ready to start generating real clients, getting real revenue, you need to pay attention. Because the strategies we're going to discuss is not top-notch, they're extraordinary. These strategies we're breaking down today aren't just theory. They're the exact frameworks that I've been using for the last 5 years, and I use to help my clients turn their podcast into a business. Because everybody needs a podcast. Every business needs a podcast. Podcast is the new wave. So if you're ready, here's what we're going to be covering today. Most podcasters are losing listeners in the first 5 minutes because they're opening with their topic instead of the listener's attention. Now, I'm going to show you the exact fix, pillar by pillar, so your next episode holds people's attention from the first word to the last. So you ready to get to that, man? Because I know I am. Now, before we get started, the one thing that you have to understand is this. Podcasting is about creating content, and video podcasting is the new content that everyone is on. If you want to learn how to use your smartphone without going out here spending a whole lot of money, jump on over to the Next Block Media channel so you can learn how to create that cinematic content like you see in your theaters, your movie theaters, your favorite TV shows, your favorite movies, and things like that. I'm going to leave you a link in the description below. So just go on and jump on over there because myself will be breaking down over the next 30 days smartphone filmmaking in short form and long form video. So you might want to jump over there. Guess what? That's free. We're not selling nothing. It's free. All right. One thing we need to talk about as we get into this, we call it the skip test. Now, if you've ever recorded a killer episode and watched the download numbers fall off like they on a cliff by minute 3, well, this is for you. This particular section is definitely for you because the problem was never, and it has never been the content. The problem is it's the opening. What are you saying in the beginning? What could you possibly be saying that makes people be like, I ain't listening to it? So if you are new and you have never followed me, I do a lot of analogies that I've used like when I'm coaching football in my coaching business and things like that. So when you hear it, you'll be like, oh, okay, he's referencing things that I can relate to. And then I'll reference things that other people can relate to just as well. So one of the things that I like to talk about is back when I was calling a defense on Friday nights in high school football in Louisville, I learned something that translates straight into podcasting. So you don't win the game on the first play, but you could absolutely lose the crowd in it. If your first play is soft, your energy is in the stadium it drops. And you spend the next three drives trying to earn back the fans. Well, same thing happens in most intros. See, most podcasters open soft. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about X. And then you have to understand they've already gotten lost in the crowd before you even get to the welcoming portion of your podcast. And shout out to all the podcasters in my city, because right now we're establishing ourselves to be the next go-to in the tech industry. But here's the thing. We got to learn how to not go against the grain and work as collabs instead of always downing somebody, hating on somebody, because there's real revenue streams out here that can be done. But you got to figure out how you want it to be, how you want to be presented. Are you just a hobbyist? Or are you a business person? Right. And that comes from what I'm talking about now. Because, see, there's one thing that we need to talk about. And here is that one thing, especially with your opening. Open with tension and not the topic. Don't tell them what the episode is about. Tell them what about to change, what's about to break or cost them if they keep doing things the wrong way. Now, there's a lot of podcasts here that are talking sports. And then there's a lot of podcasters here that are using their name, image, and likeness. And that's fine. But how do you go global? You have to understand that if you are trying to get to the next level, things like what we're discussing today is super essential because, like right now, the topic is information. Tension is the hook. Information gets skipped, tension gets played. I've logged on to many a podcast, and I'm just not that person that just jumps in there all willing to say, man, listen, basically the only reason why people really listening or watching your show is because of your guest. How do you want to be perceived when it comes to this podcast game? Now, again, we do this. We talk about smartphone filmmaking, which is a part of podcasting, which is a part of content creation over at Next Block Media. The link will be in the description below. We're going to walk you through every step that needs to be discussed in order for you to understand how you, just like today, how do you hook your listeners? Because see, knowing that you need tension isn't enough these days. Just doesn't. The tension is, you're basically calling out an issue, and that's what we need to do next. You need to call out an issue, right? So, pillar number 2, we're gonna call out the enemy, not the episode. If your intro talks about your show instead of your listeners' enemy, they've got no reason to keep the thumb off of the skip button. So you got to understand. See, when I first started building podcasts for profits, I was trying to do it through building communities online. See, before Podcasts for Profits was even a name that brought to the forefront. See, I would open every show talking about me, my journey, my show, my guests, my credentials. Nobody gave a damn about my credentials. They didn't know me. They didn't want to know all of that. I had to flip things. And the second I flipped it and started calling out the exact thing my audience was truly wanting to hear, which was that silent frustration, then guess what? I didn't start having conversations about myself anymore. I started recording episodes about what my listeners' desire was. I was focusing on the people. I was focusing on the audience. And after I did that, engagement started doubling. People literally come to me now just off camera, off record, and ask questions. And I'm more than happy to answer, especially in my city, because we're behind on a whole lot of things. We're not the major cities with the major markets like Atlanta, New York, LA, Miami, Houston, Sacktown, San Francisco. We're not the Chicago, Detroit. We're not those major markets. We're trying to establish ourselves there, but we're not the major markets. So the one thing that I had to really indulge is I had to name the shared enemy in my first 90 seconds of talking to my audience. It is a pattern. See, I was recording into that void. Remember I said that in the beginning. I was chasing downloads instead of chasing dollars. Doing the content grind with nothing to show for it. And that's crazy because, you want people to hear you. So when a listener hears those exact frustrations you named out loud, they lean in. They whisper to their homeboys or homegirls. And because now this isn't a podcast. No. It's a mirror. And this is one of the core moves inside of the magnetic messaging framework that I've been using for years. If you want the full layout, you got to jump on over to the Next Block Media so you can get that full media layout, because we're talking about everything that you could talk about with smartphone filmmaking, AI filmmaking. We're talking about how to position yourself as the authority figure. We talk about everything dealing with content creation, everything dealing with cinematic video, everything. Now, the biggest thing is once you have their attention, all right, your attention, and name the enemy, There's one more thing you have to do within the next 60 seconds, or you lose the most valuable portion of your podcast, and that's the audience. And that's we on pillar number 3. Promise before you prove. If a listener doesn't know exactly what they're walking away from in your podcast, there's nothing that you can do for them. All right. See, because this is not a closing tool. One of my good friends started a podcast, and I helped coach, him to be consistent in his podcast with the Podcast Profit Engine. What it does is it helps you to brainstorm benefit every second that they don't know what it's for, or even it's for them. They out of here. They gone. Peace. Vamoose. See you later. I've had people come to me and say, hey, man, checked out your podcast. Love the dope content. I really think it's dope. Hey, that's me. That's what you want them to say. I'm understanding everything that you're talking about. That's me. That's the one sentence you want them to have. That's the one sentence you want them to complete. You want them to feel like they are a part of something bigger. And by doing that, if you hook them in the first 5 minutes, then they feel that way. They feel like that you're talking to them. And that's the one thing. What you need to do is state a specific transformation, at least by the second minute. Not today, we're talking about hooks. Instead, by the end of this episode, you'll have the exact three-part opener I use to keep listeners past minute 5. Word for word, specific beats, vague, every single time. See, vague gets scrolled past. Being specific, that gets you that bookmark. So again, we talking about this. We talk about this on the Next Block Media channel. You need to slide on over, subscribe to it. Because this leads us to number 4, because 90% of people don't understand that the 90-second payoff has arrived. If you're saving all of your best insights for minute 15, you're gambling that your listeners will still be there. They trust you enough that they're not going nowhere. Every listener, every client, when I had talked to them how their show was going to start, I told them you need to start the same way. I told them you had to be consistent. Someone gives you value early. I never wait until the back half to give you something you can use today. I'm always give it to you up front. And that's what you're supposed to do. Make your show be irresistible, like I said in my last episode. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you are not being a snake about it. It's a strategy. It's proof. Stake earlier, act it earlier. And then by the rest of the episode, they're going to feel like it's worth staying for. So front load usable insight before first 5 minutes. Might drop moment that feels like paid game that was given away for free. Here's mine for this episode you're into. It isn't a welcome mat. It's a toll booth. Every second you make a listener know what they here for, guess what that does? Guess what that does? You're changing the way people think, because now you are charging them a fee they never agreed to pay. Drop something that shapes them out early. You've brought yourself into the right teach for the next 15 minutes. You got the right to teach within the next 15 minutes, man. And that's the exact structure. There's no getting around that. No reason to beat the bush. No reason to break the bank. Now, so since we understand that and we know this, now that you've got all the pieces, all 4 of them little joints, let's talk about how to put them together to make them work in your very next episode. Now, if you're serious about not just fixing your intros, but building a podcast that actually generates, I'll send you the client generating podcast blueprint for free. We want you to be able to understand what's going on. We want you to be profitable. We want you to be able to grow. All right. Now, if this podcast episode hits any different, you know what you got to do. Subscribe to the podcast. We on Apple Music. We on Spotify. We on YouTube. Whichever streaming platform you love to do. And remember, the first 5 minutes of an intro is not the end, but it can be if you don't do what you're supposed to do. Give them a reason to stay. Now, over here, we turn conversations into currency. Now go turn yours into currency. We out of here. Peace.